Could a novel do something that a therapist does? There's sort of a name for this, bibliotherapy, and it's the basis of our conversation today. I think a book like the one we're going to talk about raises three key questions. What happens when you read a story? What's going on for you there? Can you read a particular story to process a particular emotion or experience that you're going through in your life? And is it enough just to read a story, or is there something more that you have to do? So we're going to get into each of those three questions as we draw our source material from Bibliotherapy, The Healing Power of Reading, and that's by Bajal Shah. First of all, my name's Karen. This channel is called Sanctuary Corner. Been a chaplain for over 10 years, and so I've had the opportunity to sit with people who are processing incredible events and the emotions that goes with them, but also processing sometimes emotions and feelings that come up that don't appear to be associated with any particular event at all. And both are equally valid things to be working through. I'm also a lifelong reader. I really enjoy reading. And nonfiction, I've got to admit, is the genre that so often feels like the worthy one, the edifying one, and the educational one. And I've seen fiction as a source of escapism, relaxing, entertainment, and it can be all of those things. What I've come to appreciate, and a book like this helps give language to that, is that stories, novels help you to process the facts about feelings. What characters are going through might resonate with yourself, or you might be able to see it in others. So it helps with your own self-knowledge and about what's happening in the world. So let's talk more about what happens when you read a story and why it can be even more effective and powerful than getting some sort of non-fiction tome that's all about psychology or human processing or healing or something like that. Thing about reading a story is by nature, your defenses are down. You don't feel like you have to analyze or pay attention, that you're going to have to study all of the names and locations in order to pass an exam or to give a presentation. Instead, you allow the story to sort of wash over you, or for you to put yourself in this kind of foreign environment. And people will often find some kind of genre fiction really quite helpful for stepping out of their own life and experience. Could be a mystery, could be a faraway land that doesn't really exist in the fantasy genre or sci-fi genre. All of these are things, ways for us to kind of escape the details of our own lives and draw ourselves fully into someone else's story. But of course, what happens is we're reading the story about an elf or an alien or just someone from a completely different time or station in life, is that we might see those characters go through experiences that bring up emotions that are similar to what we remember having dealt with or that we're dealing with right now. And so that's where that connection comes and speaks to us in a way that isn't patronizing, doesn't draw a chart, but actually allows us to think about what's happening for us. A format snob, I enjoy audiobooks. I read a lot of books on my e-reader, but a paper book like this one can be really helpful for two key reasons. The first is the ability to pause and to reflect. So as you're reading, you might read a statement that impacts you, that makes you think, and you just pause. You look out the window, you kind of will gather and think about other times what it might relate to. You might even find yourself having a sort of silent conversation with someone else in your life who's either present or could be very much in the past. You can't quite do that in the same way with an audiobook. The audiobook keeps on going, and the process of kind of pausing the book feels odd, and you actually sort of want to allow the narrator to keep going without interrupting. The other thing that a paper book does for you, it just allows you to anchor where you're up to in the story. You have a sense of progression, how far you have to go, not only with the entire book, but also within the chapters themselves. So if you're using novels to help you reflect, then I really do recommend a paper-based version. Okay, let's talk about the things that you can actually do. First of all, you can take some notes, and this will horrify some, but taking notes in the margin, underlining things is really helpful. That's why it might be good to have your own copy. But if you have a library copy or you still want to keep all your books really pristine, then grabbing some Post-its, particularly the ones that have got the clear tabs where you can write over the top, can be a really great way to do this. Of course, I can hear you talking about you can take notes in another book. That's true. But there's nothing like doing it in the moment to make sure it actually happens. So that can be a really powerful tool. But thinking about taking those extended notes, one of the most powerful tools that we have for our own self-knowledge and care is journaling. So after reading a chapter or a couple of chapters, take one of your journals. You've probably got lots of notebooks that are sort of half done. Grab a pen and write. Write stream of consciousness. Don't worry about how it spells, finishing all of the sentence. Just start writing what you think, what you reacted to in terms of the book. And what you'll find is you'll have no idea kind of what you thought until you go back and read what you wrote. You could be very surprised just at how profound you are and the thoughts that came out. The trick to doing this is to keep it really low pressure. Tell yourself that you'll only do one page, half a page. You just need to get started. And what you probably find is you just finish when you run out of things that are obvious to say or when your hand gets tired of writing, and that will feel like enough. Keeping the pressure nice and low. You don't have to keep it. You can rip it up and destroy it once you're done if you don't want others to find it or you feel foolish about it. But you may well find that keeping it somewhere private and being able to go back and look at it later can be a really humbling and lovely experience. Now, if you really want to step it up and get the most out of your reading and your processing, the next step is poetry. Oh, and I can hear you already. It feels awkward. That's for other people. I have no idea what I'm doing. No one knows what they're doing, and that's okay. Give it a go. Try to write something. Don't worry about it rhyming. Don't worry about the structure. Find ways to give words the kind of color and movement imagery of what you're processing or feeling or can visualize as you read, and it might resonate with an experience that you have. The goal is not the finished product. The goal is what's happening for you along the way. And again, keeping things really low stakes, you can tell yourself you'll rip it up and destroy it or burn it. That will feel very special once you're done. And then you don't have to worry so much about perfectionism of the output. It's the processing. That's the most important thing. Now, I really want to say if as you're doing this, you find emotions coming up for you that are really uniquely distressing, if you find yourself concerned about your own mental health and stability, that's the time to really engage someone who can help you with that. So you can always call a mental health hotline if you want to get that immediate reassurance and feedback, or talk to your doctor perhaps about someone who's appropriately qualified or experienced for the kind of issues that you're grappling with. You might even find a therapist who has an interest or a passion in bibliotherapy, as our author did. All right, let's talk about where to start. What book? I don't want to be prescriptive. I don't want to give you too many suggestions, but I'll leave a link down below with a few ideas that you can find in a paper book that you can read that will be resonant for you. In terms of authors that are good at thinking about the human character and the nature of the human condition, there's really no author that goes past George Eliot. I don't recommend starting with Middlemarch. It's almost 1,000 pages. I did that once, took me 18 months. It's a really big challenge. But there are some shorter stories. So this is Silas Marnar, and it's only less than 230 pages. So not everything has to be massively literary and large and worthy. If you need to step it up, start with shorter stories. You might find an anthology of short stories or just start with short books before working your way up to some bigger ones, if that's what you choose to do. I would say, unless there's something you're particularly seeking out right now, just invest in reading different stories, different genres, different experiences, and then take the time to journal them or put a note in your phone, or in an app I use Storygraph to keep a record of what you read and what you enjoyed. What you'll then find in the future, if you have something that you're grappling with and you want some time for reflection and some help doing that, you can reach back to one of the stories that you enjoyed for its own sake, just as a story, but you'll recall the kind of themes or emotions that it drew out. And then you can use that to match what's happening for you in your own life. So let me give you another example. Jane Austen is another great author in terms of thinking about who people are and what motivates them. Her book, Persuasion, is not one I would have recommended to my teenage self, but it is a book that makes sense once you're a little older and thinking about the challenge of missed opportunities or the choices that you've made earlier in your life and the consequences that that can have later down the road. I'm not from Regency, England, but the themes in there were particularly helpful for me. So, is a book your new therapist? No. And our author wouldn't say so either. In fact, she's a therapist who's trained in using books to support people in their processing. But what books can give you is a toolkit for understanding your emotions and the emotions of others now, but also investing in these resources so that you can use them in the future challenges that are to come. I hope that's been helpful. I'm Karen, and this is Sanctuary Corner.